We don't need that. Actually, we don't need any of this shit right here. I don't think so, son. Oh, the joys of work from home, right? All right, let's give it a few seconds for everybody to get joined in. Simba, do you want to come and say hi? No? Are you feeling angry? Okay, there you go, buddy. Yeah, Simba wants to come say hi. Okay. Simba, say hi. Wait. Yeah, he's a good boy. Okay. Now, looks like we're about ready to begin. Okay, buddy. Yeah. All right. And with all that said, let's go ahead and get started with today's lesson. Now, today's lesson is going to be of great interest to many of you because I know that we tend to have a very international crowd. And today we're going to be talking about traveling and about how to actually start meeting women and getting laid while traveling. But before we do any of that, we should probably bring the mic closer so that you guys can hear me better. Also, before we do any of that, there's something very important that we need to do. Yeah, see, even Bento's excited about it. His tail's wagging back there. He's so excited because the very first thing we need to do is, if you want to enjoy this to its maximum potential, if you want to take this to the absolute limit, if you want to reach the height of humanity, the culmination of all of civilization, then what you need to do is you need to find yourself some sort of beverage vessel. It could be anything you like. I personally have a nice cup of Ugandan coffee. And join me now as we clink our glasses in a cheers with chaps. Cheers. Oh, fantastic. That is really good. That is really good coffee. All right, Simba, I'm going to put you down, buddy. There you go. There you go. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. You might be a little bit excited about today's lesson, and you should be, because today is one of our whiteboard days. That means that you're about to get some really good stuff. So let's go ahead and start talking about this. First of all, the idea of traveling. And this, depending on where you are, it might be between cities, it might be between countries, it might just be to a different part of your own state or something like that, or province, or wherever you're from. It could be different. However, there are still important lessons to learn if you want to try and get laid as quickly as possible upon arrival. Now, I have for you a 4-step process. This is very, very simple. And let's go ahead and start going through them. So, number 1 is do your homework. What does that mean? Do your homework. Man, I'm not in school anymore. I'm not doing any fucking homework. Yeah, okay, all right. But you need to do your homework. You need to actually study up on the place you're going to visit. That coffee is too good. I can't say no to it. I can't put it down. You need to study up on the place that you're going to visit. So this is especially true if you're going to visit another country or something like that. Oh, why is my camera being so dumb? Okay, wait. I actually wrote a script, a little command script to fix the camera issues. It works about 60% of the time, every time. Anyway, let's just go ahead and go through this and ignore the camera. So you need to do your homework. You need to figure out, first of all, where you're going, right? And learn a bit about it, learn a bit about the place, learn a bit about what's going on there. If you're going somewhere that is in political turmoil, that's something to be aware of. If you're going to a place where there are certain things that you can or cannot do, you need to know that up front. Don't be like that WNBA player who got arrested bringing her fucking vape oil stuff to Russia. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Also, in terms of getting laid, you need to know what the general landscape of the place is like. So, for example, if you are, I don't know, if you look Turkish, right, and you need to consider your own race. Why is this? Oh, okay, right. We're just going to ignore it. We're just going to ignore the camera. If you look Turkish and you're going to visit Armenia, understand that there's going to be some underlying resentment there. Consider what you look like and whether or not you look anything like the locals. It's better for you if you look nothing like the locals, generally speaking. So somebody who looks Spanish, like Spain Spanish, somebody who looks Spanish is going to do very well in America, is going to do very well in Eastern Europe, is going to do very well in Asia, because they don't look anything like the locals. So you get a special benefit by not looking like the locals, which is that you get the benefit of the doubt in everything, and you get none of the blame for anything that goes wrong, because how could they possibly expect you to know this thing? So you get a cultural pass in a sense, but also you get the exotic feeling, and girls love that. They love something that's more exotic. So if you want to get laid quickly and you haven't already chosen your destination, what I would highly recommend is go to a place where you don't look anything like the locals, but also make sure that, you know, your people haven't been the conquerors there, at least not in the last 500 years or so, because that obviously leaves some lingering effects. Keep all that stuff in mind. Do your homework. Understand the place that you're going. Understand the history of the country. Understand the culture. Understand what the people are thinking, what they're feeling, what they're going through, things like that. Understand where they're coming from before you land, because those things will come into play. And if you ignore this and you just go in blind, well, you can, but you're going to run into these same issues, and you're going to end up having to do your homework there on the ground, which is going to slow you down. Remember, the goal here is to get laid ASAP. That's not ASAP, is it? Next, our next step. God, I hate this. I hate this, but it really is necessary in this case. I despise online dating. I despise all of the apps, all that stuff. However, the reality is that when you're traveling, that is the easiest and fastest way to start meeting girls. And you can do it before you even arrive. You can either spoof your location, or which basically just make it look like you're coming from there. You can do it via like VPNs or specific software that's designed to redirect your location, or you can just pay the service for it, right? So like if you go on Tinder, I don't know how much it costs, but you pay them a few bucks or whatever it is, and then they give you like Tinder Passport, I think is what it's called, and it basically makes it look like you are in whatever city or in whatever country. You can start doing that. That is the easiest and fastest way to start getting in touch with locals, start meeting girls, start setting up dates. And you can, I mean, if there are girls on there who you aren't really that interested in hooking up with, but they seem nice, you can kind of just recruit them as tour guides and be like, hey, you want to show me around when I get there? There are other sites that are really great for this: couch surfing, Meetup, using something like using actual language exchange apps like Hello Talk and things like that instead of dating apps can help you with starting to meet some of the locals, and will help you to have some dates when you land, but also have some people who can show you around or who can take you to things. And you can also ask questions, because remember, you're doing your homework before you arrive. So whenever it's something like trying to figure out the local landscape, who better to ask than a local? Who the fuck is trying to message me now? They all know that I'm on live stream. Okay. Unimportant. So online dating is going to be crucial to getting laid quickly when you get there, because you can't be there until you're there, obviously. So being there digitally instead of physically can help you to get set up. I cannot handle this anymore. My camera just keeps going through all of these things. Why is it not loading the script? Oh, goodness. This is, it's really unfortunate, and the reason that it frustrates me so much is because this is not, it's not a cheap camera. It's not a piece of shit. We've actually spent quite a bit of money, a few $100s, and bought the top of the line really good webcam to go for this stuff, and it's still just the, here it goes again, just the worst. It, anyway, highly frustrating. But let's move on to step 3. So step 3 is finding the right places. Now, this goes along with doing your homework and with the online dating, and you're about to find out why. There are, in any town, in any city, in any country, there are better and worse places to try and go to meet women. You need to ask people who are on the ground there. This is especially true now in the post-COVID era, where a lot of shit got turned on its head. You can't trust your Lonely Planet guidebook or anything like that. You can't trust old information. Even something that's 2 years old is too old to be trusted. Ask people who are on the ground, who are there. You need to find people. Now, if this means talking to your friends, going onto social media networks and like getting linked up with somebody who is already there, do whatever you need to do to find someone who's there, who actually knows what's going on. Don't find somebody who's, like 50 years old and married with 3 kids and doesn't ever leave his home except to go to work, right? Like, he doesn't know. He has no idea what's going on the ground. You need to find somebody who is already out, who is dating girls, who is meeting girls, who's going out to places that you want to go, and ask them where the good spots are. Take Seoul, for example. Seoul used to have 3 amazing spots to go out and go drinking and meet women. And it was Hongdae, Itaewon, and Gangnam. At this point, Itaewon is basically dead. It's starting to slowly recover and get back, but people aren't there. And there are a lot of different factors for that. The COVID stuff, right? Everything shut down there. At one point, Itaewon was about 60% just empty buildings waiting to be rented. And then the Halloween stampede thing happened, and man, people don't go there. You can meet some girls there, but not many. And the ones that you meet are a very specific type. So again, ask your friends who are on the ground there, what kind of girls go there? Okay, you want to go to Itaewon, you're going to meet, like I said, not as many as before, but you're going to meet some sluts, you're going to meet some foreigner lovers, and that's probably about it. Even the attention whores don't bother going there anymore. So you need to know these things. You need to know what the places are like, which areas are good, which ones are dying, which ones are up and coming, where is the hot spot to be, where are the best clubs, where are the best bars. All of that information you can only get from somebody who is there and has the same mindset as you, the same wavelength. Because if you ask a girl, she's going to tell you like her 2 bars that she knows, right? Because most girls don't go out bar hopping to try and meet women, obviously. So you can ask a girl through your online dating and things like that, or through a language exchange, but she's not going to know the information that you need to know. She's going to tell you where she goes, which is not nothing. But at the same time, it's not as good of information as you can get otherwise. You can get better information that better directs you and points you towards everything you need. Next, number 4, your logistics and your social skills. This is 2 things because I ran out of room on the board and didn't feel like erasing the rest. So let's go through them one at a time. Bento, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Okay. First, your logistics. You need to be set up in a place where you can get out easily to the places you want to go, and that you can bring girls back when you are able, when you meet them, when you go out on dates. You need to be in a good location. Ideally, you're in a location where you can walk to all of those places and to all the things happening. Fucking hell. I realize that that's not always an option, especially if you're in America, and if you're in a lot of Western Europe. It's going to be hard to be in real walking distance of things that are going on, but you can do your best to be as centrally located and as close to the action as possible. This is going to be very important. God damn it, Bento, stop trying to eat me. You want to be as close to the action as possible. Here's a good example. A few months ago, I went and I visited Japan. I went to Osaka, and I did my homework before I went. I figured out what the right neighborhood was, where everything was happening, where all the cool bars were, where all the cool restaurants were, where everything else was centrally located. And then I got a hotel there in that area so that I could walk easily to all of the bars, that I could walk easily to all of the restaurants and all of the attractions and all the stuff that I wanted to do there. And it was near the subway station, so if I wanted to go somewhere else, it was also available. That is an ideal situation. If that's not possible, if you can't be in walking distance from things, you need to try and keep it as close as you can. As short of a taxi ride or an Uber or Lyft or whatever it is you use as you can manage to get a girl from a place back to yours. So if you're out in the bar district and your hotel or your Airbnb or whatever is an hour away, you're going to have a really hard time making that sell to try and get the girl to come back with you. Now, there are ways to do it, and I've made videos before about what to do if you have bad logistics. But if you're traveling, you really have no excuse other than just, I kind of cheaped out and I didn't want to spend the money on having better logistics. And that's fine, but understand the cost that you're paying for saving money there. You're going to have bad logistics. Next, and this is the last point. This is something that you need to have done before you even get there. Before you get anywhere, you need to have your social skills in order. If you've been watching these videos, if you've been watching these live streams, if you've been in our community, if you've been in my courses, things like that, then you already know that your social skills are your superpower. And if you haven't been practicing them, and if you haven't been working them out, then you are lost. But if you actually know what you're doing, you know how to talk to people, you know how to meet people, you know how to make friends, you know how to get someone interested in you, turn that interest into attraction, right? Like, if you know all these things, then the rest of it is kind of moot, because you can do whatever you want. You can make this happen. If you have your social skills in order, then everything else on this list is going to just be easier and optional. That's the reality of it, is actually just get your social skills in order. Because if you're able to talk to a girl on the airplane and, chat her up a bit and be like, oh, so what part of town do you live in? Oh, you can do all of your homework with a girl on the plane as you're on your way there. And you can ask her about the best places, and you can set up a date with her, or have her set up a date for you and her friends, or anything like that. Like, you can do anything. Your social skills are your superpower. And if you've been practicing them, and if you understand how to flirt, if you understand how to make things work, if you understand how to talk to people, make friends, get them to like you, show them the parts of you that they want and need to see, you can do all of this easily. Now, you still need to do them, because You need to know which places to go. You need to have your logistics set up. You need to know about the history of the place to a point that it matters. You need to know all this stuff. But when your social skills are on point, the rest becomes easy. It becomes just a sip of coffee, man. So, if you find yourself struggling with this, if the things that I'm saying to you now, if any of this sounds unbelievable or like, Jack, you can't actually chat up girls on the plane and set up dates with them. Motherfucker, I've done that a lot, like maybe 5 or 6 times. I've gotten girls on the plane who were either sitting near me or working on the plane to set up dates as we landed. Totally possible. But if this sounds hard, if this sounds unbelievable, you don't know how to do it, that's fine. Go to realjacknorth.com. You can sign up for the courses there. You can get yourself started. And if you really, really need help, you want to take it to the next level and make sure that you are just on top of the world, that you are the king of the world like Leo, then you can sign up for the private coaching application, where I am currently taking 5 more spots for the next 5 people who open up or who apply. If they're a good fit, then I'm going to take them on. We're going to start a cohort that's going to get them to the absolute top level. So if that sounds good to you, if you want to be the best of the best, the creme de la creme, then you need to go and sign up and apply now. You can start by scheduling a free call with me to make sure that you are what we want and that I am what you want. Okay? So with that said, let's go ahead and move it into the Q&A phase. Let's bring in, oh my, it looks like we're having a sparse day today. Okay, well, it's just me and the kid today, it seems. So the kid, what's going on? Is that like my phone blowing up? Was that the other guys saying that they weren't going to be able to make it?
Oh, I don't think they got the stream link.
I sent it, but nope, they're just okay. I don't know. They're asleep or they're taking a shit or jerking off or whatever else. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into question time. So the kid, what you got for me, big guy?
Yeah, for sure. So let's just maybe start off where you left off there.
Yeah.
Go into some of those stories with those flight attendants or on those plane rides to those new locations.
Okay. you want story time? All right. So we can go one of 2 ways with this. One, I can tell you about setting up a date and like the logistics of how it happened and how the conversation went. Or 2, I can just tell you a fun story that doesn't really teach much. You want to go for entertaining or educational?
Let's start with educational.
Okay, educational. Right. So I was flying, I don't remember where I was flying from, but I was flying back into Korea. And I started chatting up the, by the way, if you're on a flight that's less than 70% full, then you have free reign to just chat up the flight attendants, right? They get bored easily, right? Because they have long ass shifts, again, depending on the flights and what they're working. If they're doing domestic travel, it's not that big of a deal, but for international flights, they have these long ass flights and nothing to do except for the 3 or 4 times that they come around to bring out drinks and food and things like that. So I was flying back to Korea and the plane was maybe 60% full or so. And I just started chatting up one of the flight attendants. I was up in one of the front, I guess maybe the emergency row, right? Where it's like the front of the section. And the flight attendant girl was just hanging out there and just chilling. And so I started up a conversation with her. We started chatting and I was asking her, okay, you're Korean, right? Yes, of course, right. Okay, so I also live in Korea. I live in Seoul. I live in this part of town. Where do you live? And she said, oh, I live in this part of town. I said, oh, that's really cool. Actually, I was planning on going there to that area in about a week or two. I wanted to go down there. You live in Jumshill. That's where Lotte World is, and I wanted to go down there and visit the amusement park. I heard that they have these cool rides and things. And uh, have you been there? She said, oh yeah, yeah. I've been there a lot of times. It's really fun. It's so cool. Awesome. You know what? I would love if you could show me around a bit. How about we meet up down there and we can go to the park together? I'll tell you what. After we're finished there, I'll buy you dinner to pay you back for being my tour guide. And she laughs and she says, yeah, you know what? That sounds like a lot of fun. Let's do that. And so we set it up, obviously based on her schedule, but I took her number there and we were able to set up the date and meet and go to the amusement park and have a good date together because I just chatted her up like normal because my social skills were on point. Like I said earlier, it's guys get things in their head and they create these hurdles for themselves like, oh, but she's working. Oh, but she's a flight attendant, or she's a this, or she's a that. Like, none of it fucking matters, right? None of it matters. She's a human first, a woman second, and then whatever else she is like a very, very, very far distant third. So don't create these stumbling blocks for yourselves where you build something up to like, oh, well, I can't do that because whatever. None of it matters. If you can't do it, she'll tell you no, right? But there's no harm in trying. So if your social skill, if your social skills are on point, then you can turn a boring ass flight into a date. What's next, the kid?
Nice. So, do you have any now when it comes to the traveling side, right? A lot of the advice I saw there was like the big cities, right? And I did miss the first 5 minutes. I was eating Chipotle. But do you have any advice then when it comes to, let's say you're traveling and you're going to be ending up in a much smaller city, right? Where it might be harder to find a local guide, might be harder to meet people, might just be harder to find someone who could give you that advice.
Okay, sure. So in this situation, you're not traveling purely for pleasure. You're traveling because you have something like you have a business thing going on here, or you have something that you need to do, or something you need to go to, something you need to see in a smaller town. That's fine. Here's the thing: is that all of these same steps still apply. They just become a bit harder. Like it's harder to find someone on the ground in Cuzco than it is to find one in Lima, right? Uh, by the way, Cusco is the very, very small town in Peru that if you want to go to Machu Picchu, you have to go there and then you take the bus. So this is a good example of like if you're going to Lima, then all of this becomes a lot easier. Now, finding someone on the ground in Cusco is going to be a lot tougher. However, you can do it. Like you're just going to have to do a bit more work, maybe rely a bit more on social media and on like Facebook groups and stuff. Facebook, despite being the dying dinosaur of a platform that it is still really useful for finding people of a certain mentality in different places, for finding location based things. I think Facebook is still probably the king on social media in that regard. So use things like that. Find your Facebook groups that are, expats in Cuzco or something like that. And then start looking through there. Find people who look similar to you, have the same kind of mindset. You can't really tell from everything, but you can use your common sense, use your social skills, right? And suss out who is who. Obviously, don't bother asking girls unless it's your last resort. Ask. Try not to ask guys who are married or who have kids, if you're trying to find where the young single women are, right? Use your basic common sense on things and you will be able to find someone. Because no matter how small a town is, no matter how small a city is, people are having fun and people are fucking. So, if you can find where they are doing both of those things together, you win. Make
Uh,
sense?
yeah, that makes sense.
What's
Okay.
next?
So I'm curious now when it comes to like let's say the traveling, right? And when you're going to these certain cities like the Western European cities, right, or the American based cities where you mentioned there is that issue of like being in walking distance, right? You
Yeah,
can't really have a central location that's within walking distance, right?
yeah.
How do you navigate that? Is it just simply you put yourself in the middle of everything and just make sure you're not a 20-minute drive, 40-minute drive?
The okay. This is where it's going to get very city and town and location dependent, right? So this is why step 1 was do your homework and figure out what the hell's going on in the place where you're going. If you're traveling to Dallas, right? If you're traveling to Dallas, then you need to know, am I in downtown Dallas? Am I in the suburbs of Dallas? Am I where am I going? Where do I need to be for whatever reason it is you're traveling? So if you're going there for like a business conference or something, you need to know where that thing is. And then you need to figure out, okay, do I want to be closer to the thing that I need or to the things that I want? And the second option is better if you have the choice, right? So in Dallas, particularly, the closer you are to downtown Dallas, the better. Now, the good news is that even if you're kind of a bit out, Ubers are cheap-ish, right, to get you around places. And because nobody has an expectation of you being close, it's it's acceptable, right? To be kind of far away, to not be nearby, but hopefully within a 15-minute drive is that's really the maximum to kind of keep things going. Any longer than that, and it becomes more difficult. However, the idea of what is expected in a given place is going to be important because if you're in Seoul and you're a 30-minute taxi ride away, you don't live anywhere near them. You don't live anywhere near the party, right? Because everything is walkable to an extent. And if you're just a 5-minute taxi away, then it feels like you're just doing her a favor to save her from walking. It The expectation here is that you should be quite close. But in Texas, the expectation is that you're not going to be anywhere near there. So it's a bit more acceptable. Your ranges go up as the expectations do as well.
Okay, so every location people have different expectations anyway.
Yes, every location people are going to have different expectations of how close are things normally, right? Like if you go from one bar to another bar, do you have to drive? And if so, or do you have to take a taxi? If so, then the expectation that you're going to have a place within walking distance is none, right? Because nobody
Yeah.
has a place within walking distance.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So the expectations change. Okay. Got it. Got it. So then now let's say I'm curious when it comes to like when you've traveled, right? Like let's do a generalization because I don't want to go like specific cities, town by town, right? But how has the travel adventures differed? Like what's the biggest thing you notice when you're going to a new city in the east versus the west? And east is like, Japan, Korea, Asia, and then west would be Europe and America.
The biggest differences,
Yeah.
everything. I mean, except for McDonald's, right? But like, actually everything is different, right? The actual layouts of cities, the culture, the even even the times they normally eat, like everything is different in different places, and East and West is the biggest difference by far.
Okay.
I'm sorry, like it literally is just everything. Because if you're traveling in Japan, or you're traveling in India, or you're traveling in Germany, it might be easier to say what's the same, because it's not much, right?
Hmm. Okay. Got it. So, is there what are the similarities then besides McDonald's, right?
Besides
And
McDonald's. Uh, okay, so
specifically in the context of you're landing there, how do you get the ball rolling as quickly as possible? Like, what are the
right,
same principles?
uh, so the similarities that are going to matter for this are that this is this is gonna sound awful, but this is just based on my experience, and I'm just gonna put it out there. The lighter your skin, the better you're treated, generally speaking, no matter where you go in the world. I didn't do this, right? Like, I didn't make this the rule. I didn't make this happen. This is just what it is. And everywhere that I've been, the lighter the skin, the better people just generally treat you. So you're going to instantly get, uh, you're going to get certain, I don't want to say privileges, but you're going to be treated a certain way. And again, like as a white guy, when you show up in Japan, or you show up in India, or even in Germany, like you're going to get a little bit more deference, you're going to get more leeway, uh, and you're going to get a lot more attention from people. Now, one of the things that I said earlier, and I think you might have missed this, was you will do a better job of finding women if you don't look like the locals. If you look different than the locals, then you will, or if there's some way for you to stand out, like instantly, without you having to say or do anything, then you will always get more attention. You will get this exotic feeling to you. So, with that said, if you are darker skinned, or if you're black, or if you're Indian, you're not going to get as much attention when you're in a place where everybody looks like you. But if you go to Scandinavia, for example, then you're going to get the exotic feeling. You're going to get the exotic card immediately. And girls are going to want to talk to you. And girls are going to want to hook up with you because they're curious. They want to try something new. So, going to a place where you don't look like the locals, or where you stand out in a very specific way. So, for example, Rich would absolutely kill it in Miami solely because he has a British accent. And that just works the same way that, like, an American guy going into, maybe not London, because nothing's exotic when everything is different, right? When you're so diverse that nothing stands out. But if you went to Manchester or Bath or Leicester, or like some smaller part of England, then your American accent is going to get you positive female attention instantly. So finding something like that that's going to work in your favor without you having to do any work, that's just going to give you an instant passing grade, and then maybe if your social skills are good, you immediately go up to an A plus, right? Finding things like that. This the similarity is that everything is different, but you can use the place and the culture and the people's mindset to your advantage. So you need to be aware of all of these things before you pick a destination. Or if you're just being sent somewhere, you have to go somewhere for whatever reason, find the way to best position yourself in that situation.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So then, going off that point, right? Kind of using that maybe exotic card. Would you say that do you notice a difference like how it would increase maybe like if you take example Korea like Seoul versus Daegu, Busan, or as you get to the smaller city, it increases because it's not necessarily a rarity, right? A foreigner maybe being in the biggest city, but as you get down the line, does it increase in intrigue or there's another factor there?
God, you're really going to have to talk to people on the ground in a place. Uh, the reason I say that is because if I take Korea, right? Like I am I am an expert on Korea. I've been to pretty much every city in Korea. I've lived in many of the cities and I've been around a lot. If you go to Daegu is maybe half the size of Seoul. And so you would think in your head, you would be like, oh, well, then foreigners will be twice as desired, twice as exotic, right? It doesn't work that way because what you don't know is that there is a military base outside of Daegu that's been there since the Korean War. And as a result, all of downtown Daegu, there's an entire section of downtown Daegu that's just overrun by American soldiers every single weekend. And the girls who go there have no patience for anybody with less than perfect game. There's no way you would know this unless you talk to someone on the ground in Daegu who already like, oh yeah, I know the history, I know which parts of town. Okay, so if your game is perfect, this is the place where the hottest girls are going to be. But if your game is less than perfect, there is another part of downtown where the soldiers don't go. I don't know why, but they don't. And the girls go there and they like to meet foreigners, but they don't want to meet soldiers. So you can go here instead. You need to talk to someone on the ground who actually knows the lay of the land there. There is no exception to this because you pick any other city in the world and I don't know that stuff, right? I just happen to know basically all the stuff that goes on in Korea. But any other city, you need to find someone on the ground there. If you're going to visit France and you're going down south to Toulouse, okay, great. Awesome. I don't know anything about it. I've never been there. I have a friend who lives there who could probably tell you about what's going on there, where the good places are, where the bad places are, where you can meet women, where you know what places to avoid. Talk to someone on the ground, no matter where you're going. This is an absolute. You must talk to someone on the ground, or you are at a severe disadvantage when you get there.
Got it. Okay. So then going off that, right? Let's, take an example, gun to your head, right? Let's say you lose all your contacts, you have no existing contacts, right? And you have to go to a country you've never been. I don't know, let's pick maybe, have you been to Spain?
I have.
Okay, well,
Um.
pick,
Okay.
well, you get the idea.
I
Maybe
lose.
like Germany
I lose
or some
everything.
country. Yeah.
And let's say I'm going to Brazil.
Yep.
I lose everything. I don't know anybody. The internet has died for whatever reason, right?
You
Like
still have the internet. You
I
can
still
use
I
the
still have the
internet,
internet.
but you
I just
don't know anyone. You don't have your existing contact book.
okay. So I would. I mean, the first thing I would do is, like I said earlier, I would go on to Facebook and I would find expats in Rio. Right. Let's just say I'm going to Rio. I would find expats in Rio. Find a Facebook group, start talking to people there, start asking questions, start getting a feel for it, make some friends first. Then, once I had a bit of an idea, and that only takes maybe like, I don't know, a day, right? You go on there, you send messages to 10, 15 people who look somewhat similar to you or have somewhat a similar background. Maybe they're also from America. Maybe they are, they've been living there for 6 years and you notice that, all their pictures are them out partying, whatever. Find those people, send messages, chat with them, get to know them, and ask some questions that are going to direct you to the point. If you are able to make friends who might be able to either take you out to places or link you up with someone else who can. That's gold. It's pure gold. Next step is set up your online dating so that it looks like you're in Brazil, and you start talking to girls and you start saying, yeah, I'm either I'm getting there next week, or oh, I'm available starting next week. I'm booked up with something. If you're just pretending to be there, you can play that however you want. It's unimportant. But next would be to start setting up dates because now you know the area a bit more. You can start talking to them and saying like, oh, yeah, like I'm not from here, but I'm going to be staying around this subway station or around this part of town. Do you know any good spots there? I've heard that this and this are really great spots, but I'm currently away for work, or I'm currently not there yet. So what do you recommend? Do you have any ideas for this thing? You can start using them to mine for information as well, which you can then use for the next girl you're talking to, right? Like you're building this up. It's all cumulative. So that would be my next step: is set up the online dating profiles, start talking to girls, start setting up dates, start figuring out, oh, I've heard like 3 different girls mention this club or this bar. This must be a good spot to go. Because if all the girls are saying that they like it, then all the girls are going there, right? Start figuring everything out that you can before you land. Next step would be to find expats of that country in wherever you are. So I would, again, go on Facebook and look up like Brazilians in Seoul and find like, oh shit, there are people here who are from there. Okay, let's start chatting with them. They can give me some more stuff. And maybe if they're cool, if I like them, if we make friends, we go out, we have a beer, and they can tell me all the stuff that they wouldn't put in a Facebook message because, it's not really private. But if you get out in person and you have a beer or two, then the truth starts flowing and they start telling you this and this and this and this and the secrets that they know from their time there. I would learn everything I possibly could about that stuff before I got there.
Got it. That's a good roadmap. It's a good
Makes
game
sense.
plan. Yeah,
And,
that makes a
and
lot of
here's the
sense.
thing is that like all that stuff that I just said, that sounds like a lot of things, but that's actually like maybe a 2 or 3 day timeline.
Yeah,
Right? Because
it's fairly quick.
yeah, it doesn't take long to make all these things happen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's something anyone can do. Like, if they know they're flying in a week, they could be good to go by the time
Exactly.
the plane takes
When you
off.
know you're flying in a week, you can land and literally have 2 dates a day for the next week already set up and know which places you're going to.
Yeah. you know.
It doesn't take that much.
Yeah, no, 100%. That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Well, in any case, seeing as we have not been joined by the player panel today, I think that we're going to go ahead and wrap it up a little bit early. We're going to go ahead and end it here. Unless you have something else that's just burning.
No, I think, we've covered it pretty good.
All right, good. Well, then in that case, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for joining today. Thank you for watching. And once again, if you haven't yet joined the community, there's a link below in the description. You can go to realjacknorth.com as well. You can sign up for the courses. You can sign up for the private coaching to learn all this stuff and to make sure that you get it absolutely nailed. And I will see you next time. Papa Jack